Hi, it's Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, and I am here once again with my plans and pans, this time from my office in my home, because I am home now for a few weeks. We have finished several weeks of legislative activity, and now the Congress, the House of Representatives, is on a break until January 9th. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to be able to have the opportunity to go around the district and meeting with a lot of people. And of course, considering a number of the issues that are so important that we are going to bring up as soon as we get back. So this is the holiday season. And often it's fun and frolic and family. But you know what else it is? There are deaths on the highway because of drunk drivers. You know, people may be inclined to have just a bit too much to drink and then take to the road. I had the opportunity of meeting with the Deputy Secretary of the Department of Transportation and the Acting Administrator of NHTSA, that's the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. And did you know that every 39 minutes in the United States, there is a death on the highway due to a drunk driver? And did you know that in the United States, 40,000 people die on the highway every year? And 1/3 of those fatalities can be attributed to a drunk driver. So this is a serious issue. One of the points that I made is that everybody has to have a plan if you're going out for celebration during this new year, during the holiday season. You want to make sure you have a plan on how you're safely going to get back home, that you're going to safely move around the city or wherever you are. And that can be done. So think about that. So one of the really great things that I'm proud of is that the Biden administration and its infrastructure legislation include a very important bill that was my bill that I got passed. And that bill says that automobile manufacturers have to have in new cars a device that will identify a drunk driver. Now, the bad news is that we don't have that technology in place right now, but that's why I was really putting some pressure on the Department of Transportation and the Highway Traffic Safety Administration to go quickly. We know that that technology is available, but it's not in the cars yet. Also speaking with me at this press conference is my friend, U.S. Senator Ben Ray Lujan. He was in the House for quite a while, wonderful member of the United States Senate, who was in, I would almost say, a near-fatal accident. He was the victim. He was the victim. And it took Ben quite a while to recover from his injuries. And so he spoke about his experience and how he still thinks about this driver coming at him, and there was no way to escape. So this is progress. I hope that we're on the way to saving lives. We had a very important vote on the National Defense Authorization Act for 2024. I voted no. And my concern is that we have a bloated defense budget already, and that this time there was the authorization for $886 billion more new dollars. Look, we, of course, want to keep ourselves safe in this country, but we have the largest military budget by far. And we think about what are the needs that everyday people have. We are talking about healthcare. We are talking about housing. We want to make sure that we can make investments in things like clean energy and all kinds of things that are going to make our country and our people safer and better. But I also voted no because I have concerns about the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which is part of this legislation. And it is supposed to make sure that it keeps us safe from terrorists and other people who would do harm to our country. But in fact, we know that there have been instances when you have seen that activists and journalists, and yes, even members of Congress, perfectly innocent people who have come under unnecessarily surveillance by the government. This act has put a number of very innocent people under scrutiny, under surveillance that I am not in favor of. Now, I have to tell you that there are some things that were good in this bill that I certainly would have supported if they were standalones, and it does raise the salary of people in our military. I will continue to fight for that. And there's also more money for healthcare and housing for our service members, men and women. So I will continue to work on those, but I felt that the bulk of the legislation, the bulk of the dollars, was not necessarily going to where we need it the most. We've talked a lot about reproductive rights here in the United States, but I'm also concerned about reproductive rights around the world. It marks 50 years this weekend that the Helms Amendment was passed in the Congress of the United States. That was shortly after Roe v. Wade became the law of the land and abortion became legal. Jesse Helms, a senator at the time, introduced the legislation to limited reproductive rights for women everywhere in the world, saying that they could not get any assistance from the United States of America. Well, that has had a devastating effect because it's even in countries where abortion is legal, but they can't get any help from the United States of America. The Guttmacher Institute found that this really has devastating consequences. They found that without the Helms Amendment, 19 million fewer unsafe abortions would take place, that 17,000 fewer maternal deaths would take place around the world, and 12 million fewer women would experience abortion complications. So I have legislation called Abortion is Health Care Everywhere Act, and I have continued to push for it. It's not going anywhere in this Congress because the Republican majority in the House is so anti-choice and anti-abortion, but we're going to continue to fight for it. And we have an interesting supporter, and that is the granddaughter of Jesse Helms, and her name is Ellen Gaddy. And Ellen has become an activist, and she has been pushing for the repeal of her grandfather's bill. So I'm working with her and a lot of activists here and abroad to make sure that reproductive rights are more available. I was honored to speak at a full house of people who came to hear me that are part of Presbyterian homes, particularly called the Westminster Place, which is in Evanston. And I began by telling them what our office can do and do for them. One of my fabulous members of my staff, Mary Beth Stein, who deals with senior issues and healthcare issues, she has either returned to or saved over $1,600,000 for constituents of the 9th Congressional District, finding that they were spending too much money on their Medicare Part D and saving them from spending that much money, or because they had not been able to get their benefits. Truth be told, this is very often the most rewarding part of my job, that because I am a member of Congress, I can cut through the red tape. I wish you could. I wish it was easier to pick up the phone and do it yourself. But I can do that. And our office can do that. So be sure, don't make yourself crazy. Call us. We can help. We had a great discussion about not only things that affect particularly older Americans. I was talking to them about the importance of making sure that we make Social Security secure and make it even more improved. Social Security benefits are really modest, about $21,000 a year. Hard to live on that. And that's the average benefit. So there are people who get less than that, and especially women who find that their Social Security benefit, because often they've had lower wages during their work life. So this is a real problem. And we, as the richest country in the world, the richest time in history, can absolutely afford to raise the Social Security benefit. And I am part of legislation. A whole group of us have introduced bills that would increase the amount. Now, some of the naysayers say, well, where's that money going to come from? And the answer is very simple. There is a cap on income for people that have to pay into Social Security. And it's actually pretty low. And what we ought to do is raise that cap and say that the very wealthy have to pay more into Social Security. And that is security for people all throughout the country. I also talked to them about good news, about the Inflation Reduction Act. From the name, you wouldn't think that that's the bill that did so much for older Americans, making insulin $35 a month, capping out-of-pocket costs for people on Medicare at $2,000 a year, beginning to negotiate lower prices for prescription drugs. And isn't it about time? We as Americans, I think I've told you many times before, pay 2 to 3 times more for the exact same drugs. We should not be asked to do that, and Big Pharma should not be raking in record profits doing so. So we had a wonderful and lively conversation. I look forward to these kinds of conversations, not just about older Americans, but about all of our constituents as I get to go around the district. So I am hoping that you're getting a little time off at least to be with family, friends, and enjoy a little bit of vacation. And I will be back nonetheless with plans and pans. I want to wish those who celebrate Christmas a very, very Merry, Merry Christmas. And those of you who celebrate Kwanzaa, have a great one. Talk to you soon. Thank you for watching my video. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, where my handle is @Jan Schakowsky.